Hey, Eric. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing better.
Better?
Doing
The
better.
last couple of weeks, you've definitely been a little,
Less better.
well, I think a combination of housebound and, the global situation, have both been made for a pretty rough couple of weeks.
Yeah, it has not been pleasant, but it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So, anything good happen this week?
I should really plan for that question
It's not like I don't ask it every single week.
in advance. Well, exactly. Oh, well, because, days just blur together. There was just time and the time before the last time. I don't know.
That is funny.
No, it's all good. So my boy, we are not a big video game family. We've never really, we don't have the Xbox and the PlayStation and we have a Nintendo Switch that generally gets very little use. But with all this homebound going on recently, my boy has gotten into playing a game called Rocket League. I don't know if I mentioned this before on the podcast or just separately, but so we've been playing Rocket League together, or at least trying to play Rocket League together.
Okay.
And we played it enough so that when we played the rookie level, the AI who are rookies, we could beat them every time.
Okay.
And so we said, all right, we're gonna upgrade to pro. So we started going after the pro. We started playing as pro. There it goes, rookie, pro, and then something else. I'm thinking we needed some level between rookie and pro, because we cannot win to save our lives against the pro level AIs yet. We've finally been able to score some goals, and we play a 9-game season, and we've been able to win 1 or 2, but we never get to the playoffs. So,
wow,
that's what we did. I think probably Sunday we probably spent way too much time trying to beat this pro level AI, but it's fun.
And I'm sorry, what's it on?
It's on pretty much anything.
Switch?
You can get it on the Switch. It's PlayStation. It's Xbox. I think you can even get it on Steam. It's one of those games because you can play online versus other people. You can host local parties. You can, play big tournaments. There's apparently there's a whole lot about it I have no clue about, but it's apparently very, very popular, and we're just not that cool. We're still trying to beat the one level above
whatever a second year player is.
Yeah. So, but I think we're getting better. But it's been frustrating to kind of go from we can win every time to we can't win to save our lives. We needed.
Is it a co-op?
Pro-am level. What's that?
Is it co-op? Is it cooperative?
You can either play against each other or cooperative. Yeah. So we're on a team together, and we play a computer, two players on a computer. And you can play. We've tried playing one-on-one against each other, and we've tried playing 3-on-3. We've joined a few online games where it's mayhem. We're 2 of a team of 4, and so we've tried playing online. It'll just randomly pick other players who are currently playing online as well, and you drop you into a game. And
is it humans versus humans?
That. Yes, and then it's humans versus humans, which, we're still figuring out where the AI consistently screws up. And then once we solve that, that's how we beat at the Rookie League, was we figured out where the AI screws up every time, and then we can pretty much score at will.
Sure.
So we haven't solved the pro level AI are not as dumb as the rookie level AI. So we need a level between pro and rookie.
It's all about finding the little trick. The little trick. Yeah.
But that is a long segment on
a game.
On a game. That's all right. It's a fun game.
It's funny. Well, I have some big news. I figured I'd break it on the podcast. Although I don't know that I've talked about it on the podcast, but I made my goal for the year, which my New Year's resolution was no Diet Coke until I dropped a certain number of pounds, and I succeeded on Saturday.
Well done. Well done. I know I've been bugging you over the last several months for a T minus
how many
number
pounds?
of pounds.
Yeah. So, I've done this before where I got serious in my early 40s about, John, you really need to lose some weight and get in better shape. And so I did the Couch to 5K a long time ago. And, but then, over the last 7 years, it crept back up and I was like, all right, got to do it again. So not as a health measure, just as a motivation because John likes Diet Coke. I gave up Diet Coke until I dropped basically 25 pounds. And so on Saturday, I was 0.1 pounds under my limit. I'm like, all right, I'm having a Diet Coke today, but here's the kicker. My wife said, you should really be very careful about that first drink because remember, you haven't had any Diet Coke for 5 months, 6 months, 5.5 months. And, be really honest with yourself, whether you like it, that first drink. And so I made a little ceremony of it and it tasted awful. It tasted awful. I'm like, you ruined my, so it was one of those, like, I totally motivated myself for 5 months, 5.5 months. No. Well, yeah, I guess 5.5 months, and was very good. Although I was informed in retrospect that on Mother's Day, when we went to Sonic for dinner, I got a Route 44 limeade, not thinking that was soda.
Right.
And I was informed afterwards, do you want me to tell you something that you may or may not like? I'm like, you should always tell me. I'm always want to know. And she's like, I think cherry limeade's probably soda. I was like, no, I was so good. So anyway, but that's okay. That was my only inadvertent lapse, I will say, for the 5.5 months. But anyway, so now I'm not quite sure what to do. I've drank 2 of them, but I'm probably gonna go eat is where I'm gonna be, at least for a little bit. But I managed to meet my New Year's resolution in June, which is good. But
done.
So that happened.
Well done.
That happened. That was good. I was happy about that. And then the other thing I went to last week sometime. I went to mow and my mower like totally broke, was making this terrible racket. And I'd actually taken this past Monday off to projects I needed more time than just the weekend. And then the mower broke on me. So I wound up, I took a whole day off work, and really the only 2 things I accomplished were finding and replacing the belts on the flail mower. So it needed these 346-inch deep V belts that I found at Napa basically. And then while I was out, I was nearby where my mother-in-law is staying, and one of her long-standing issues has been for the last few weeks during quarantine time, basically, is her scooter, mobile wheelchair, has been, one of the batteries in it's dead or dying or something, and so they've loosened up their restrictions a little bit, so she was able to basically bring it down to the lobby, and then I could go in and leave it parked there for 2 hours while I took out the battery pack, went and found replacement batteries and put it all back together. So that was my Monday. And I thought I would get back and then, get more of my stuff done. And then we didn't even get home. It took us 6 hours out and about, which was mostly just in the car and going between different places and driving. But I'm like, well, it is what it is, and she's really happy. super helpful for her. And this coming weekend, I will hopefully mow a lot more now that my mower is fixed. But anyway, that was my semi weekend. It's good. It's good.
Nice.
Well, I put one thing in for follow-up tonight, which was about Patch Tuesday, mainly because we talked about Patch Tuesday last Tuesday, actually. It's not a huge thing in my world most of the time. But I did see in this one that there were 100, and so this past Tuesday, I guess this would have been a week ago yesterday. Oh, gracious sakes. What was that you were saying about time dilation? I don't remember if this was yesterday or a week from yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Anyway,
now you got to look, huh?
Dang, I got the link right in front of me. Yesterday. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible. Oh, I'm terrible. Okay. Anyway, so this month, this is the largest Patch Tuesday release in the company's history, with 129 patched vulnerabilities, and including 9 remote code execution. So in a bunch of different software, including SharePoint, Excel. It did Word for Android, which I didn't realize that their apps were also on a Patch Tuesday cadence. I guess that's just on me. But there were a bunch of remote code executions in here. So keep your stuff up to date. Patch.
Yep. All right. So I had a couple topics that passed my eye this week, and we haven't talked about it for a while, but I am a fan of passwords and password managers and proper password hygiene.
Yes, the first 50 episodes, I think that was your topic every week.
That's right. So apparently I got off my soapbox for a while, but Apple released an open source project on GitHub to help people who create and use password managers to collaborate on resources. So it's got a list of rules and a rules language for how to create a password and how password managers can interact with your website. So if you go to a website and you start typing in a password and then you hit submit, maybe that password will come back and say, oh, you need at least, 12 characters. Or it'll come back and say, maximum of 16 characters. You can't have 50. Things like that. And so,
or even worse, they accept it and silently truncate it. Or
yes,
but yeah, I have had 2 in the last seemingly week where I had to go back and set it down to only 16 characters or something like that, which is frustrating.
Yes, those websites are the worst. So they've released it, and just one of the things that I thought was interesting in this open source release is they have a group of quirks. And quirks mode, if you remember from early browser development days, quirks mode was the browsers do things very differently or oddly, or how do you handle things that don't make any sense? Basically, it's the way to go do hard-coded things. These are quirks.
I looked at one of them, which I was like, oh, I know what site's going to be in that quirk file.
Yeah. So they've got password rules, and the idea is as they're trying to establish, and I'll throw in a link to the Apple GitHub site as well as the the website for the proposal for an HTML tag. So the tag can actually define what the password rules are. So the password manager that's reading the web page, or the something that's pulling the web page in, can understand that you need a minimum of this many characters and a maximum of that many characters, or you need at least a $sign, or at least a number, or at least a lower and an upper, or there are so many weird potential password rules.
That's fantastic.
That websites come up with. So it was a cool way. So I thought this was kind of cool. Dig through. You can look at I don't want to say it's a name and shame, but it's almost kind of a name and shame. I started to mention about the quirks. They have some quirks on password rules for certain websites that do things in ways that are not, password managers can't just go, okay, I can create a password for your site. Part of it is the goal is once they update their site to better handle password rules, they can remove themselves from this quirks mode.
Submit a pull request.
Yeah, submit a pull request. Fix yourself from that. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
And then the second one that I saw was a cyber attack that hit Honda Motor Company. So this one was Honda released a statement saying Honda has experienced a cyber attack that has affected production operations at some U.S. plants. However, there is no current evidence of loss of personally identifiable information. We have resumed production in most plants and are currently working on the return of production in our auto and engine plants in Ohio. So the interesting thing about this one is it appears to have been a very targeted attack going specifically after Honda because it appears that the ransomware it appears to be ransomware, and it appears that what it was trying to go after was looking for a specific subdomain that would only be available if it was queried from inside the company's network. So it's not a domain that's publicly accessible externally, it's only internally. And so that way that if the ransomware or the malicious software is running on the inside of the network, it will do whatever it wants to do. And if it's running outside of the network, then it won't try to do anything. So I thought that piece of that attack was also a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
But it appears they seem to have recovered and moved on. So
interesting. No, I hadn't read that. Cool. That's good. I really like the password manager thing. I feel like I had a dream about password managers in the last week. It probably doesn't say a good thing. Huh. I never remember my dreams, but who knows? So I had just one thing tonight, which is a named vulnerability. It has a logo, has a website. Actually, it has two logos, but I'm betting that this was the one that they were able to get. SGAxe, SGAxe.com, as in a play on SGX, which is the secure, quote unquote, secure enclaves on Intel CPUs. So SGAxe, and it has its logo is of course iconography of a chip with a axe. Well, see, that's not an axe. Anybody who looks at that would say that's a hatchet, not an axe. Yeah.
And it's cracking the glass on the. Yeah, it's not to scale.
It's definitely not to scale, and it's I definitely would have some bones to pick with it, but it's okay. It's okay. Anyway. So I thought I might read the abstract actually to this. So the underlying vulnerability or the underlying attack is called cache out, which is also kind of funny, spelled with a CACHE, of course. But it is an attack against caches, I guess. Yeah, about
and a logo of a slot machine. Data.
And the logo is of a slot machine, right? With pulling the handle and presumably getting some nice stuff. So here's what it says. The first part, at least. Recent transient execution attacks such as Riddle, Fallout, and Zombie Load. I think we talked about Zombie Load, and I think we might have talked about Fallout. Demonstrated that attackers can leak information while it transits through microarchitectural buffers. Named microarchitectural data sampling attacks data sampling by Intel, so MDS. These attacks are likened to drinking from the fire hose, as the attacker has little control over what data is observed and from what origin. So unable to prevent the buffers from leaking, Intel issued countermeasures via microcode updates that overwrite the buffers when the CPU changes security domain. So, Intel fixed this, or attempted to fix this, by basically wiping buffers when in certain situations where because you wouldn't want to, it wouldn't be feasible to clear the buffers, the registers and cache lines every single time that you change execution contexts. Your CPU would, speed would go to zero, many, many, many times slower than it is today. So the troublesome spot that Intel's in is that, they can't make performance suffer too bad in the service of security. And the other thing is that, these sorts of attacks aren't the general attacks aren't Intel. This is an Intel specific attack, but the vulnerability is a systemic vulnerability to how we do chip design in the first place. Not that I'm a hardware person at all, but so I'm going to get back here. So in this work, we present Cache Out, a new microarchitectural attack capable of bypassing Intel's buffer overwrite countermeasures. We observe that as data is being evicted from the CPU's L1 cache, it is often transferred back to leaky CPU buffers where it can be recovered by the attacker. So, blah, blah, blah. We demonstrate that Cache Out can leak information across multiple security boundaries, including those between processes, virtual machines, user space, and kernel space, and from SGAxe enclaves. So, this is a more practical attack, or maybe I'll say mature attack than the initial zombie load. So, and they've got some videos. If you go out to the website, the first one shows them extracting RSA keys from a program data, and then to prove that they got the right key, they decrypt a private message. And then the more interesting thing to me about this whole article is the violation of the SGAxe trust boundary, which again I think we've mentioned SGAxe a couple of times over the course of the show, but the core feature of enclaves, they were called secure enclaves at least early on, and they are still called that in some chips, I think, but Intel calls them SGAxe or Secure Guard extensions. Basically, the intent is to create a little embedded safe zone where nothing that is not trusted is executed inside, and you can have some programmatic guarantee on that the code executing on the other side of the wire is the code you think it is. So the whole intent here of the sort of trusted in general is how, if I send you some data to operate on and you do the operation on it and give me back a result, how can I trust that the code you wrote to do whatever operation you did on the values that I sent you wasn't tampered with and ran unaltered, and so a secure enclave is they tightly prescribe how data, sort of the input and output to the enclave, and then only signed code will run on the inside, and you can get a signature that basically validates that the code that ran was the code that was run by the signature. So the thing is that what they showed two things with the SGAxe enclaves here. They showed leaking of data. So they did a great visual of the Mona Lisa. If you go out to this website, SGAxe.com, and they did a great video of the Mona Lisa showing them extracting the data from the enclave. So this is via the, Cache Out. But actually both of these things were via Cache Out. But The second thing that they did was they used the cache vulnerability to recover the private attestation keys from a fully updated and patched machine with all the latest microcode, basically. And since they extracted the private attestation key, they were then able to sign code of their choosing outside the enclave, which, if you were using a remote service to execute this on a trusted in a trusted environment, and they're able to sign it externally, then that totally breaks the security guarantees. So, or the security attempted guarantees. So that was my thing there. Security's hard.
Yeah.
Especially with hardware, and what are you going to do with that to try to maintain power, and then what can you fix in microcode versus what requires a fully a new CPU design to better accommodate, and then you're talking years. So it's anyway, it's a tough thing, but the initial web page on this is totally consumable. It's pretty basic, just with a few quotes about the things. The paper is an academic paper, but the website's super basic. It's got.
Well, did you look? I looked at they have a Twitter bot that provides attestation as a service, so you can get your own quote signed with the keys that they extracted, and you can pass attestation.
When this came out, I think the reason I found out this was happening was a couple people I follow were tweeting those. So yeah, I knew that existed, but no, I did not mess with it on my own. So
I didn't notice till I just started digging through this while you were chatting.
Yeah. So trusted computing isn't.
That's the end of the sentence there, isn't it?
Yes. It's a tautology.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I got. All right. How about something fun this week?
I stumbled across we've talked about deep fakes.
Yep.
And we've talked a little bit about this. This one is a deep face drawing tool. So if you can draw a stick figure, if you can doodle a face, it will take your pencil drawing or your ink drawing and turn it into a human.
Whoa.
a human face, following the doodle that you do. And I wonder if this will help sketch artists. If you're going to doodle a face, and if you look at just the samples, I don't know how accurate it is. There's no code to go dig through and play with yourself. And the one YouTube video that shows the real-time rendering of the sketch in the face, you can tell it's not a real face. But just the idea and the concept, I thought was really kind of cool to be able to take pencil drawings and create a face out of it. It reminded me of one step back behind the what's the name of that website? These people are not real.
This person does not exist.
This person does not exist.com or something like that. Yeah. Where it's just computers have generated, just taken pictures all over and created new humans, new faces of humans. So
that's cool.
I thought it was a pretty cool paper. I am hoping that at some point they'll release the source code and people can play around with this. That's my something fun for this week. That was kind of cool.
It says they are working on releasing the source code soon. So that would be awesome.
It's probably written in JavaScript.
Of course it is. No, it's Python.
I'm sure it is.
It's AI. Or it's ML at the moment, so that's a preponderance of Python.
Very, very well done.
Ooh, alliteration.
Nice alliteration there.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't actually have something fun this week. So I thought I would, well, I had 3 last week. So, I've got a few banked, but I would say that, the other thing I would mention here this week is that my Ubiquity system came in finally, and it was not, in the form of a pair of, Avengers curtains. So I got the gateway, and it is now running. The bits over which you are hearing are going over the, Ubiquity edge route, or it's called UA.
Okay.
Edge router. No, that's what I had before. Something gateway.
Okay.
Ubiquity, something gateway. USG. Anyway, doesn't matter. And I even have Wi-Fi in the barn where the gateway is. So that's cool. But, oh my gosh, it was a nightmare to set up. And when I say a nightmare, I mean, it was a nightmare. So
what made it why was it the nightmare though? Was it because of your ISP and your kind of, what bits were the nightmare bits?
I don't know quite how to make this short, because this took like 4 hours to get working. And with me and another guy who has like a ton of Ubiquity gear on the phone, basically on video the whole time, with wherever I could, me sharing my screen, whether over my phone or like pictures on the phone, or when I had network connections and we were just trying to get it to like be configured properly, over screen share. Anyway, so the first thing and the first problem is, in order to manage this, you have to have, it's not like Eero where their management is in the cloud. You have to run your own management software somewhere on your network, which I thought, well, no big deal. I actually had already, in preparation for this, I planned on running it on my QNAP, my network attached storage. And I have Container Station running, and I got the appropriate container, and I got my account set up, and I have it running on my NAS. But then the problem is I have to install the gateway at the edge of my network, basically where the network comes in the house, except that I've got this weird network setup. I don't know that I've talked about it that much on the podcast, but basically, in order to avoid trees, my network, and since I live in the country, I don't have DSL, I don't have fiber. Oh my gosh, would I love to have fiber? But I get my network over basically directional Wi-Fi. Ironically, it's all Ubiquity gear with from an ISP that does it, wireless ISP. And so I have an antenna dish pointed up at a mountain, but it's on it's on my barn. That's where the network comes in. So I have to install it out there. So I figure, well, no big deal. I'll take my laptop out there, and I'll just run the management software on my laptop, get it all set up the way I want, then back up the configuration and load the configuration on the NAS. No big deal. Well, it requires Java 8 to run. So
what Java are we on now?
13.
Okay,
13.
just checking.
It requires Java 8. And which then, because I did not spend $200 for a cloud key, because that's what you can buy the thing. They call it a cloud key, but really what it does is it runs the management software. And there's lots of stuff online. People are like, well, you can just run it anywhere. Run it on your laptop, run it on like a network attached storage is great. So I download the thing, realize I need Java, plug the old network back in, download Java, install it, blah, 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 plug it in, try and get it to work. So the only laptop I have is actually a work laptop. So I was trying to set it up on the work laptop at first, because that's what I'm literally sitting out there at almost midnight I in the barn, and I've got a laptop on my lap and like an Ethernet cable going up to the switch, and it turns out that I have a firewall that I can't get into the
Right.
Okay, that's fine, whatever. I then decide, okay, well, what can I do? So that's when I actually called up my buddy who really helped me out, and we spent a while doing it. First trying to debug it like that, and I showed him all the stuff I'd done, and then he was like, well, let's just SSH into it and we'll set all the settings up. And I'm like, brilliant. I don't know why I didn't think about that, or why Google Food didn't help me, the previous night at midnight. So we SSH in, set up a whole bunch of settings, just basically because the other main thing for me is I need to set a static IP address for the router, because that's the way mine is, and it's not DHCP out. And so I have to get onto there to configure it the first time to get out. And so anyway, set it all up with SSH, and then it's a matter of, well, now what do I do? How do I manage it for real and get the real management stuff going? And so we decided, well, let's go ahead and just plug it all the way back to the house. And then I figured, okay, well, no big deal. I'll just unplug the Eero and plug it straight into a switch that I have here, and then I can plug my NAS in, and I'll be on the same layer 2 network, and then I can manage it and get the rest of it set up there. And then I realized that my desk this is way too long of a story, is brutal. Okay, suffice to say, after another hour of getting it all set up and other troubles and travails, I realized we actually got it working. It was a pain. We got it working, and I could click the adopt button in the management software to say, hey, this gateway, USG gateway, should be managed by me. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Click adopt. Overwrote the entire settings, rebooted, kicked me off the network.
Of course it did.
Of course it did.
I shouldn't laugh.
Yeah. So, and that was the other thing, is that all my internal Eero stuff was on a different subnet, and so I wanted to DHCP serve the same subnet that I had been serving previously, so I could reset up all my reservations and stuff like that I had for various devices that I want, like, to know their addresses. And so it booted me all the way out. And then, so that was basically the time that I said, all right, giving up, time for dinner. And then got back after dinner and redid the stuff that, we'd already done once, but, I managed to eventually get it up. So it is definitely not consumer friendly. There is no way in the world that somebody that did not have a pretty good knowledge of networking, and then a buddy who has even better knowledge of networking, would have been able to get that going at all. I know that I'm an outlier with the quirkiness of my network setup, because I've got 3 network devices before it even reaches the house and enters the mesh. But yeah, it was pretty bad.
Would it have solved your problem if you'd had bought the $200 cloud key?
Yes.
How much
Yes.
would that have saved you?
That would have saved me 4 hours.
Okay.
Yes.
Just checking.
Okay. Yes, that probably would have been fine. But who wants to go buy a Raspberry Pi just to run an old ancient version of Java?
When you can run an old ancient version of Java on your QNAP.
Inside a container.
Inside a Docker container.
Inside a Docker container. Okay, yeah, that's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But it is now working. Now that that's working, I went ahead and bought 2 more access points and another switch that are coming. And
all right.
So this coming weekend, I'll get the rest of the network set up.
Nice.
It'll be good. But yeah, at some point, I'll have to give you a demo of the console. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I went looking around my Amplify system for some coolness, and no, it's very much consumer friendly, as in you don't get to control hardly anything. It just does what it does, and it works. And I have been checking in with the family, and all the gripes about network not working for them are largely gone. So my experience, successful. Yeah.
Mission succeeded. All right. Anyway, so that wasn't really a fun story, so maybe that shouldn't have been my something fun, but it's still good. It's good. I'm glad I'm glad it's working. And I mean, the thing is, I tell people to patch, but as I was redoing this, I realized that my two routers, they're not routers, I forget what they're called. They're like pass through, I don't know what they're called. It's basically that shoots a wireless signal from the house to the barn. I hadn't even logged into them for 3 years. When I was logging in to try and see, hey, can I adopt these into my network? To which my buddy says, no, you can't. Sorry. He's like, whoa, that's an old version of firmware. So, which is true, because I literally hadn't logged into them for 3 years, which says but that's what I want out of network gear, except
right.
the new stuff is easy to update. So,
right.
I was able
push
to
a button.
I was able
firmware.
to push yeah, exactly. Once things were up, I was able to push a button, and it just downloaded, rebooted, and was up to date, which is cool. So anyway, that was fun.
All right.
That was fun. All right. We should call it a show.
Yeah. Well, and if you've managed to listen all the way to this point, I promise my boy I do a quick plug.
Yep. Plug it.
So his little Weather by Ty podcast, which he thinks is cool, you can go to weatherbyty.com, and you can now add it to your Apple Podcast or Spotify or whatever, just with a one link. And he was very excited because apparently someone in a little tiny town in Western Germany has listened to his podcast. So he thought that was cool.
That's exciting. That's awesome.
So there you go. Anyways.
That's awesome.
We'll see how long he keeps it up, because we're now, if he doesn't record another podcast, next Tuesday we'll not have a new one. We're no longer ahead.
Aha.
So we'll see how it goes.
That's awesome. That's good stuff.
All righty.
All right. Well, be safe.
Yep.
I was going to say, yeah, keep washing your hands. Don't be a guinea pig. Be safe.
Yeah. We could go on for another half an hour just on that.
Let's not.
All right.
All right.
Have a good night, John.
Have a good night. Talk to you later.
Bye.